So this week, we read from Parashat, or we will be reading from Parashat Vayeshev. It is the beginning of what I like to call the Joseph novella, which will take up the rest of the entire book of Genesis. And it teaches us about Jacob in his old age has a son, Joseph, his favorite son because he was the son of his favorite wife, Rachel, until he had one more son with her, Benjamin. And he demonstrated this favoritism by giving Joseph a coat of many colors, which I like to mention would make for an excellent musical. Now, I was thinking about this because, as many of you know, and as some of you who are here experienced, we lost two significant members of our community this past week, and we memorialized them in Mark Kraft and Dr. Ken Cowan. And I connected them to the Joseph story because both of them were dreamers. They were dreamers in slightly different ways, and yet their dreams, their visions had significant impact on our community. For example, Mark Kraft, who came into his family business and later served in politics on city council and as county commissioner, had a dream that everyone in our community would be treated with compassion, that everyone who walked into his store, who walked into his office, would be recognized and would be supported for their needs and be supported in their dreams and their desires. He had a history of hiring people no one else would hire. Some of them worked out, some of them did not. But if you asked him, he was always proud of his successes. And as a politician who represented what politics is supposed to be, he was proud of the ways that he was able to better our community. And Dr. Ken Cowan had a dream of a world without cancer. He had a dream in such a way that he wanted to create a cancer center where researchers and doctors and patients all interacted with each other, that they didn't live in their separate silos, but they got to see the fruit of their labors and would be able to understand the impact of their decisions. This led to the development from the Epley Cancer Center into what became the Buffett Cancer Center. Both of them were dreamers in very different ways, but both impacted our community and our world. And it led me to think, in Judaism, we talk about dreams. And I thought, how do we talk about dreams? Well, we talk about Joseph, certainly. In this week's Torah portion, he has two particular dreams, one of them of which 11 sheaves are bowing down to one sheaf. And then in a second dream, the sun, moon, and stars and his 11 or 10 brothers are bowing down to him. And in both cases, the brothers say, Joseph, you mean to lord over us? These dreams were very obvious. They were able to all understand them. And they were dreams and visions of ego. They were dreams and visions of power. And these were the dreams, and the favoritism is in why, because Joseph was despised by his brothers, and ultimately they plotted against him. They threw him into a pit. They debated murdering him, but ultimately decided, we'll just sell him into slavery and tell our father that he was torn apart by wild beasts. And so his dreams when he was young came to be almost his undoing. And yet the dreams he interpreted later on became the dreams that ultimately represented his salvation and our salvation. And so I was wondering, what else does our tradition teach us about dreams? And in my research, I found the writing of Rabbi Jill Hammer on Jewish learning. She said dreams have long played an important role in Jewish tradition. In the Bible, dreams are portrayed as a means of communicating messages from God and as a source of truth about the present and the future. The Talmud imagines that dreaming can tap into the powers of prophecy, while the Kabbalists understood dreams as journeys of the soul that may summon messengers or ward off frightening nighttime visions. Taken together, these various traditions portray not only dreaming, but sleep itself as a sacred activity, which is why if you happen to take a nap during a rabbi's sermon, don't worry, you're engaging in a sacred activity. Dreams play a central role in some of the major narratives of the Bible. The patriarch Jacob dreams of a ladder to heaven with angels climbing up and down. As I like to point out, there's a stairway to heaven, but a highway to hell. It tells you a lot about humanity. Joseph dreams of a sheaf of wheat with 12 other sheaves of wheat bowing down to it. In the book of Kings, God comes to King Solomon in a dream to grant the gift of wisdom. Some biblical dreamers, like the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, are warned of disaster, while others, like Pharaoh's butler, dream of deliverance. All these dreams are seen as containing important messages that can be divined by dream interpreters, like Joseph and Daniel, both of whom seem to derive their interpretations from a divine source. Yet a counter trend in the Bible suggests a certain anxiety around dreams and their interpretation. For example, in Deuteronomy, it forbids the people from listening to a dream diviner who contradicts the word of Torah. The prophet Jeremiah expresses disdain for prophets who get their prophecies from dreams. The concern seems to be that a dreaming prophet may offer non-normative wisdom that goes against our sacred text. This worry is reflected in God's warning to Moses in Numbers, which states that while future prophets may receive communications of visions and dreams, this is not the case with Moses himself, who communicated directly with God, panim el panim, face to face. Another concern might be that dream prophecy empowers those farther from the halls of power in education, such as women or non-sanctioned spiritual practitioners. Why is that? Well, if you think about who's writing the text, mostly men. It's about containing the power and not entrusting it to those who may have dreams and visions that may contradict inherent practice, but may also hold hope of bettering it. The Talmud, too, is concerned with the strangest of dreams. In Tractate Brachot, the Talmud regards dreaming as 1/60th of prophecy. The remainder it calls divarim b'telim, nonsense or idle things. How does one sift the prophetic wheat from the chaff of nonsense? The Talmud recommends consulting a dream interpreter. Yet dream interpreters, like Torah interpreters, may have different opinions. The Talmud records the story of one sage who went to 24 dream interpreters, each of whom offered a different and true interpretation. Like the Torah itself, dreams can have multiple meanings. Or as Freud said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. As we are seeing in all of this, dreams are important for our ancestors. For dreams represented a pathway in their mind towards understanding more of an idea of what God wanted from them, because they believed that God may not speak to us panim el panim, but God can speak to us in our sacred text, in our relationship with the sacred, and perhaps, yes, even in our dreams. But yet, we have to be careful. We have to be cautious, because dreams are wild and extraordinary things, and not always easy understood, and can sometimes be misinterpreted and misapplied. But as I mentioned at the start of tonight's conversation, there's another way to think about dreams. And it's not just about those visions we have at night when we fall asleep. Dreams are also our visions for what the world ought to be, for what the world can be. And so in this way, because we live in a time that's going to want to quash down our ability to dream. It's going to flood us with negative information, which we'll receive across media and social media and argumentation. And it's going to challenge us and make us feel like we don't have the capacity to dream, let alone to hope. But if there's one thing we take from our tradition, there's one thing we take from Joseph, that in the darkest times, that is where our dreams can shine brightest. It was when, a little later on, not to give away the story, when Joseph was in prison, that dreams were the source of his redemption. For 2,000 years, we had a hope, a dream of returning to our homeland. Our homeland, which is very much in a lot of pain right now. And we are fearful for what goes on and what the future can bring. We are fearful in our own land here for what is going on and what the future can bring. But don't let fear destroy our ability to dream. For even if we are in that metaphorical dungeon, our dreams can be our redemption. And as we learned about the story of two of these giants in our community who died this past week, their dreams have helped to transform our community and our world. So if there's one lesson we can take away from Joseph on this Shabbat, on this Parashat Vayeshev, find the time to keep dreaming. For what the world can be represented by what dreams may come. Shabbat Shalom.